Welcome along Westerly CC VR race number 9, VR virtual racing. This is number 9 in a series of 14. This one's entitled the NATO mission. And that's because at the end of this race, we're going to go up a climb. So it's a hilltop finish. And the finish is right outside the NATO headquarters in Northwood in northwest London. So, with 6 seconds to go, will this be a fast start? There's slightly less riders than normal, and that's because there's other events on, not least the Tour de France to watch on television. So off we go, fast start, and you can see 3 purple jerseys up there. Purple jerseys, all 4 are the Westerly CC riders, and in there today we've got Ian Grew, Andrew Beale, David Buckley, and myself, Dave Morrison. Now, this is coming together again. It is important to get into the group fairly fast. At the start, and this is going to form into a group of about 15, I suspect. Around 20 riders starting today. There were 60 entries. This is a little bit low. As I say, there are other events on, and some of these riders have done another event before this one. So some of the favourites missing, and some of the favourites will be fatigued by their earlier exertions. So this could be a wide open race, and perhaps we could get a new winner. So let's see what's going on. Now, this group is probably going to be the group that contests it now. I think with all the climbs coming towards the end, the group should stay together for quite a long time today. The usual procedure is that we get to a climb and it starts shaking itself into smaller groups. Here today, we've got 2 teaser climbs just before the main climb at the end. Whether or not they do any damage, I don't know. But I think certainly the group will thin itself out on that final climb. Now, it's a ramped climb, so basically there's some steep bits, then some respite, steep bit, respite, and so on. So whether or not the steep bits that do the damage or it just generally is attritional, we shall wait and see. Now, we've got 2 green jerseys in here today, and that's interesting because both of these gentlemen are South African, but flying under the New Zealand flag. So if you look at the 2 green jerseys, they are effectively together, and the 4 purple jerseys are effectively teams as well. Others to look out for in this group, James Melville, perpetually in the top few, and a potential series winner here. There's 13 races in the series. This is number 9. Now, some of the favourites are missing today, which gives everybody else a good chance of doing well and picking up extra points. Furthermore, the point system in this works. You get 50 points for first, then 49 for second, and so on and so forth. So the less riders there are, the more chance you've got of grabbing quite a bucket full of points by virtue of, let's say, instead of finishing 30th, you might finish 15th and get an extra 15 points. So this is good for those that have bothered to do it. And I think some of them will probably be calculating here as well, because, in fact, if you are tired from an earlier race, it doesn't really matter because you'll get some points here, even if you don't perform to your usual standard. Now, all of these races are 16 kilometres long or thereabouts. So this one's about 15.5 kilometres, but they will, average around 16 kilometres. And that's based on a sort of 10-mile theory, and these races are usually fast and furious, and you can see up there the speeds of 41 kilometres an hour. If you look in the top right hand corner of your screen, you'll see a little circle with a green bit. That's the gradient, so we're on the flat. You'll see the speed hovering around 40 kilometres an hour, and the other figure there is the time. Now, just below that, you've got a terrain, and you can see the gradient. We're going ever so gently downhill now. You can see from the gradient. The Union Jack is where I am. The other little blobs are other groups of riders. So you can see this group is away from other groups. And a 0.1 gently climbing up. But this is effectively going along a river valley. So there's not going to be too much undulation on this section. And you can see in that box again, in the top right-hand corner, down the bottom, you can see we've done 3 kilometres and we have 12.3 remaining. So, in fact, it's 15.4 kilometres altogether, and we're now just coming up to 3.2 kilometres with 12.6 remaining. Now, you can see in the top left-hand corner, the first digit, the one that sometimes goes red, is the watts I'm putting out. And if I'm drafting and I'm pedalling too hard, it will go red to tell me that I'm wasting energy. Just below that is a green section, and that just tells me how much energy I'm saving in watts by sitting in the draft. Now, I'm the purple jersey just going up on the right there, and two of my club colleagues have just overtaken me. Again, I'm the right, in fact, all four together now, riding like a team. I think Team Ineos would be proud of us, or Lotto Jumbo. In fact, we're all riding for ourselves. The main contender in the series for us is David Buckley. David's unlikely to win today, but the way he's accumulated his points is by racing every race. And as I say, people like James Melville are playing it very, very cool. And Francisco Zapata from Spain, another one who actually is there or thereabouts in the series, hasn't ridden all the races, but has worked out that it's well worth turning up today because you will get some points, and with others absent, you'll make inroads into other people's totals. So this is a very, very good tactic by these guys turning up today. As I say, a much smaller field than usual, but no less exciting. And we can see that everybody's having a little prod at the front. Here we go. Here's another one. But nobody's getting away. Ian Negru is notorious for his little prods at the front, but nobody seems to be getting away, and I think it's going to be difficult to do solo on this because it's very, very flat all the way up until those last few climbs. We're going along the Colne River Valley. It's not a famous river. You may never have heard of it, and in fact I suspect there's even people who live relatively local who are not familiar with it, but essentially a river just to the west of London, heading down northwards, north to south. So we're heading northwards at the moment along this river valley, and we're on a fairly main road. Once upon a time it was a very main road, but they built a motorway to replace it. So in fact it is one that we ride upon locally when we go out on our club rides. Mainly as a link to more country lanes, but nevertheless it can be ridden quite fast, perhaps not in a peloton style like this though. So here we go, there's me having a little prod at the front, but nothing happening. Quickly replaced by Daniel Cadiz, another one of those top riders who's made the effort to turn up today and nab some points. And Daniel's probably again within grasp of perhaps winning this title, but we shall see. There's a bit to claw back on David Buckley, but you will have to come to every race. As I say, though, the people like James Melville, Daniel Cadiz, they are people that are capable of grabbing a lot more points than David in a race. It just depends if David's good enough to keep the differential down. He could hold on to his lead and take the title. In fact, to be fair, we have to say that David's quite canny at tactics in this and has already won the two Westerley CC internal virtual races this season. I say races, series, both series of about a dozen races each, and David managed to win both. So he's not too shabby at doing this. As I say, he's a master tactician. May not win every race, but won quite a few in our internal races. That's for sure. You can see the names painted on the road there. This is RGT's one of their latest features, where they pick riders from the list and put their name across the road as if you were riding in a Grand Tour. And that was my name last time, but I'm sure most of the riders will find their names across here. I'm not entirely sure whether you get different names for different riders, because I thought mine was on here quite often, but maybe they do it for the individuals concerned rather than the everybody else. So it'd be very interesting to watch somebody else's. But I do get other people's names, so I suspect it's fairly random, and maybe the first people on get a little bit more exposure than others. So here we are drawing in another break. Marcus Bergqvist, another one of those top riders who's been a bit canny and come in and got some points. And interesting to note the two South African Kiwis both strongly showing in there, and one of them making sure that I don't get away. Marcus Bergqvist still up ahead though. Are we going to bring him in? We shall see. Yes, it looks like we're going to catch him. Some hard work on the front here from Ian Negru and Johan, who are pushing away, and the two South African Kiwis. That's not a phrase you're going to hear too often, is it? South African Kiwis. I'm sure they would probably prefer to be called South Africans. But anyway, shuffling about, and we've only got 3 Westerly riders now, and I think we have dropped dropped Andrew Beale, perhaps. I'm not sure. I think Andrew's somewhere out of the mix now. And it's very, very difficult in these. If a gap appears and you are solo, it is very, very hard to catch up versus what you've just seen there with Marcus Bergqvist being reeled back. When you're up front solo and there's a pack behind you, everybody can take a little turn on the front, and the collective power of the peloton is likely to drag you in. Now, the yellow arch there signifies that we're halfway through the race. Again, look up in your top right-hand corner. You'll see 7.7 done and 7.7 to go. In fact, it's just changed to 7.8 and 7.6. So we're in the second half of the race. We're still on this flat, as you can see from the elevation in the top right-hand corner. And it goes on for a little while, but you will start to see the differences, I think, when we hit those first little few ramps. And small names on there. You can see mine appears again. I'm really not sure why mine is so regular, but perhaps it is tailored to the individual riding. Perhaps somebody else who's in the race will let me know at some point. In fact, RGT have done an overhaul on these, so the scenery, although it's stock scenery, this isn't what this looks like in real life. It's rather more built up, being close to London, but it is quite effective. I mean, it looks nice. It's probably interchangeable. That this could probably be in any number of countries. I'm sure that you could be in Pennsylvania here, you could be in France, you could probably be in Belgium, certainly the UK, and the scenery wouldn't be that different. So, quite cleverly done, I think. And it's very effective, this Magic Roads, which allows you to build your own routes with scenery. And I think is what makes one of the things that makes RGT such a successful platform. It's certainly very, very good for racing. And you can see by the quality of some of the races you get into these races. So still on this flat, not a lot happening. Everybody jostling around, little turns on the front, little attacks, but nothing coming off. And some more names on there. Without mine this time, I think. See Chris O'Connor's name there. Obviously, everybody's travelling so fast and they're so good that it's very hard to read them at speed. So Daniel Cadiz taking a little turn at the front, and will he be dragged in or not? And Johan again pulling him in. I think he's going to be pulled back at this, being followed closely by me and David Buckley, and everybody else come out with us to give a bit of collective power and spoil Daniel's party. Sorry, Daniel, but coming back together once again. And this, as I say, is the story of this section. It's about, I think, staying in the peloton if you're struggling a little bit and not getting dropped. If you are looking at winning it, then you might have these little pokes, but I think they're not really going to come off with the collective numbers in this group. There's about a dozen or so, I would guess, here. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. So there's 10 riders in this group. Oh, 11, sorry. So 11 or so riders in this group. And it's going to be difficult to get away. And I think everybody looking to win this really should be concentrating on the final hill. Now, we're 5.6k in. The ramps are going to start in a couple of kilometres. So nothing major likely to happen in the next little section as we ride towards Rickmansworth, which is in Hertfordshire, just outside London, near Watford. Now, as I say, this is on, most of this section is along a road that goes along the valley. It is a main road, and so it links all these towns. It basically goes from Slough up to Rickmansworth, Watford, and then round the north of London and orbits London. It was in fact called the North Orbital Road, may still be, we don't know. But as I say, replaced by the M25 motorway. And as I say, it's very unlikely, I think, anything's going to happen in the next kilometre and a half. Little group at the front, Chris O'Connor giving it a prod there with Andre and David Buckley and myself. Marcus Bergqvist closing that one down, and the other South African coming in there as well. That's Johan. So it's sometimes always confuses me because I see the guy in the yellow and blue, and I think that should be Sweden because that's the colours of the Swedish football team, but in fact Marcus Bergqvist and Swedish flag, which is yellow and blue of course, is in all black, whereas the Kiwis, whose rugby teams play in all black, are wearing South African kits, but that's because they're actually South Africans flying under the New Zealand flag. And if you look at the left there, you can see 2 New Zealand flags, 3 from the UK, Daniel Cadiz from Chile, Daniel from Brazil, and the 2 New Zealand flags again. So there's 4 UK flags there. The top 10, the top 11 or so shuffling, you can only see 9 in there. So as it shuffles around, the positions move, and you can see also in that column how much power everybody's putting out. So most people put in around 3.5 power, and you'll see it suddenly surge and lapse. If somebody's about to get dropped there, put some power in to bring themselves back, and as they hit the peloton, they'll probably ease off and it drops a little bit. So 4.1 kilometres left. We are shortly going to start hitting the lumpy bits, and this is where we're going to start seeing what happens. You can see they're not for a little while yet from the profile up in your top right hand corner. There's slightly going up, plus 0.2, but nothing too bad. Chris O'Connor now giving it a go, but Johan having none of that, and the peloton just behind him too. So it's all going to come together again, and I am finding myself falling off the back a little bit, and we'll have to put some power in just to get myself back on, and there I am. So the group all together again, and just then when I drop back, you can see that the list of riders at the side shifts, and you can see there's quite a gap back to the next rider from James Melville, some several hundred metres now. So the top 11, the winner's going to come from this group, 11 riders, and as I say, around 20 started, and you can see in the top right hand corner in the box, the other riders appear to be in 2 groups, because you can see, if you look at the profile, you can see the Union Jack is the group I'm in, and there's 2 groups to the left of that behind. So the other 9 or so riders, or whoever's left, because people do drop out, are in 2 groups and substantially behind us now. And my clubmate Andrew Beale in there, which surprises me because he manages to beat me most of the time. He's just come back from holiday, so I think he's been eating far too much ice cream, I suspect. We'll have to ask him. I'm sure he'll be back to fitness and beating me regularly soon. So here we go, 3 kilometres to go, and you can just see the road beginning to ramp up a little bit. Now we're turning right here, and we'll turn immediately left. And in real life, what we're doing here is going into the Moore Park housing estate. Now, this is a private housing estate. You go through a little gate, and you can just see on the right there's the signs indicating that there's a climb. This is very, very gradual. It goes through the housing estate. There's nice houses either side of the road, and it's just a gentle climb, but it's just sort of tests the legs a little bit before we get into the main section. Now, after this, there's a little bit of a dip where it goes under a railway bridge, and then we have 2 significant ramps up to Moore Park Golf Club, then a little dip again, and then the real climb starts. So here we go. We should be going down the dip any minute now. I think that's it there. And as I say, when we go down when we do go down the dip, that signifies the real climbing starts, because this one's particularly gentle. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps it's a little bit further to go yet to the dip. This is quite a long road. I say it's a housing estate, but it's a private housing estate, so you have to go through a gate to get on this road. But they tolerate the cyclists, and we use it very regularly because it's a nice little cut through, and because it's gated, there's not much traffic on it. Marvellous stuff. Right, so we're just now cresting, and I think if you look at the profile on the top right-hand corner, you'll see that the small dip under the railway bridge is just about to happen, and then we'll swing right up the first ramp. So, what's going to happen on the first ramp? Can everybody stay together? Remember, there's 11 in this group, and the test is to at least stay on during those first 2 ramps. The right-hand bend coming up, you can just see that. That will take us on to the first of the 2 ramps as we go up towards Merchant Taylor's School. So here we go. First ramp of the day. Will it all stay together? And I'm not doing too well here. I'm right at the back of this group. Oh no. So, yeah, myself and David Buckley falling back here. I've just managed to get on. And David's suffering a little bit. And maybe the series leader is in a bit of difficulty here. Now, I know David did a big mountain climb this morning and has done some other racing and riding during the day, and I think that's catching up with him. I'm struggling a little bit here. I'm not quite on the pack, but can I get up and rejoin it? Seemingly not. We're on the main climb now, and I'm going to overtake Daniel as we go the 1 kilometre to go. So because Daniel and myself have been dropped out of this group, we're going to go up to Inagru, who's still in it, and as you can see, it's thinning out into a straight line. And this is well, you can see the two South Africans are now leading us out, with Marcus Bergqvist in third, Chris O'Connor, Daniel Cadiz, Francisco Zapata, and it's all changed again. James Melville up there. James Melville now passing some of the other riders as we come into the last 700 metres to go. Everybody jostling for position. Now it's coming back together again a little bit. It's not such a straight line. Or maybe it is actually. Inagru just getting round one rider there to take a position. And another one, maybe. It's in a straight line now, and the positions look like they're going to be as they are. And we've got Andre and Matthias in first and second place. And I think they're going to take that with Daniel third. And Johan in fourth as things stand, but this is a little clump here. The first three are decided, but as we come up to the line now with just under 400 metres to go, what will happen next? We've got Daniel Cadiz in third. What's happening here? It's James Melville in fifth, just behind Johan at the moment. We've got we're under 300 metres to go. And this little group here, it looks like Ian's not quite going to sprint to the finish with these guys. How's it going to finish? How's it going to finish? So everybody being a bit coy at the moment. I mean, we've certainly seen that the first few certainly were in a line, and this is spread out. This has gone into a line. Oh, but look at that acceleration. Wow. Ian not making up any numbers there, as he couldn't quite hold the sprint. So we look at the final positions, and a fantastic finish for James Melville there, coming in fourth. We switch back here to me. I'm just further down the climb. I clawed back with Daniel, as you saw when we just cut back. He's behind me now. I've just settled into a steady pace up to the finish, because obviously everybody else has finished, and Daniel's probably not going to catch me, and David Buckley certainly isn't, as he's feeling the pain, I think, of his earlier ride. So I'll just trickle over the line. Time doesn't matter. This isn't cumulative like a grand tour, and I'll ease over the line and have a look at the results. So as we can see, Andre won, Matthias second, and we've got Daniel third, and so on and so forth. And there's the little bit of cutting there. That's back to the last 18 with Angus Gordon in the final position. Now, Angus is quite a decent rider, so I think it shows you how many people were missing, that Angus is in last place, but with a respectable time, of course. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching.